Welcome, viewers and listeners, to Ghost Incorporated's 21st episode. We are legally adult now. In this episode, we will discuss about a village in Assam which is known for its practitioners of magic. We are lucky to have Maya with us again, who has reasons to research on the village. Maya, I have something to share with you before you start speaking. You must be aware that I am a skeptic, half a skeptic maybe myself, but over the last month, I have reasons to believe that it is possible perhaps to influence people via magic. And it's not been a happy experience. Let us hope that all those who are involved in this, we emerge from it unscathed. Not that personally Ghost Incorporated has been involved in the magic, but it has been investigating and trying to help out people who seem to have, so to say, a spell cast on them. Welcome to our show, Maya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ghost Incorporated. And it's, as I always say, that it's lovely to be associated with a channel which is so real and honest in its investigations. Investigations, or should I say discussions,
Yes, I think that
on
would be better.
something.
We discuss and
Discussions on
let the listeners, make their own, draw their own conclusions.
conclusions. Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you were saying that you are a bit of a skeptic, and there are several people today who might not believe in magic. And again, there's an equal share who will believe in magic. And there's a very popular saying which goes like, if you believe in magic, then magic exists. And if you do not, then it doesn't. But somewhere down the line, if we go and read and research on the ancient texts that have uh, dealt with magic, we might find basically the idea that magic, which people might believe and might not believe. When we read and we go back to the ancient texts which have dealt with magic, we might find a kind of a parallel drawn between magic and science. So, several researchers have gone on to prove and establish, if not prove, with specific examples, that there is a science behind magic too.
Yes, actually, I'm not qualified to talk about it, but I'm told that quantum physics begins where magic ends.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where, fantasy comes into reality. Uh, Everything fantastical takes the real shape when it is fused with science and magic. Like maybe that's why the Netflix show Dark, the German series Dark, became so popular, because it had the elements of quantum physics, and it had time traveling, and it had the underground tunnel and magic, and influencing lives through time travel and science
Yes,
and magic.
and to just give a very day to day reference, who imagined, of course, you are of a much later generation, we couldn't imagine the mobile phone because we were
Yes.
the generation who were used to the land phone. So how the mobile phone has progressed and has actually caught our imagination completely, if I may say that, because it has snared our lives completely.
Yes. I remember the first time I used a mobile phone. I was in college at that point of time, and there used to be that Nokia handset,
Yes.
the very hardy one. And it was on silent, it was on vibration, and it was kept on the table. And all of a sudden, my mother was she was just stepping into my room, and she saw the phone vibrate, and it was, of course, moving. And she was absolutely horrified and started screaming that there's a ghost inside the phone and you should stay away from the phone and what not. So then I went on to explain her that the sound can be disabled when you are in a meeting or you are somewhere where the sound might disturb. You can put it on vibration. You get that feel that someone is trying to reach you.
See, the sense of teletransporting ourselves has also come true if you think of it, because we are at distances, we are having WhatsApp video calls, we are FaceTiming, or we are on a Zoom meeting, and we are able to connect wherever we are. So, teletransportation, which was something which was only imagined, even Kupi Bagha Juto was kind of a, yes. So, people have imagined. Unless you imagine, one cannot actually make it come true. So there have been scientists or researchers who have thought beyond the thinking of laymen.
Yes, absolutely. And because you just talked about Kupi Bagha's Juto, let me tell you that this really existed in India.
Oh.
There's a place in India, there's a village in India, in Assam. It's called the Mayong village, where this kind of magic was practiced and it was established and it existed. It had a mantra called the Uran mantra, where where a 3 hours distance can be covered in just 1 hour.
So see, Ray always researched his script very, very well.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure, and nothing, I mean, it's not for nothing that he got the Oscar, and we are still so very proud of him, and whoever comes, nobody can beat Ray, and how he connected to every level of age.
True. And maybe, you never know, maybe he knew about it, maybe
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Yes. And it's from that particular thing that this idea came, this inspiration came, because this mantra existed. I have had a personal relation with this kind of a particular magical entity, where he came in and things happened. I will definitely tell you about it. But the background of it is the Mayong village. The Mayong village, which is in Assam. And today we read Harry Potter and we read Lord of the Rings, and we believe, or say Narnia, and we believe that everything is kind of fantasy, everything is a figment of imagination. But here in India, of course, the West always termed us as the land of magic and snake charmers. But then something must have been true, that the Orient, or of course, the Indian subcontinent has also had its share of.
I am just not the Indian subcontinent. I think the entire Eastern world. Let's not forget about the magic carpet. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And the genie. So
yes. And there are many scripts, magical scripts, which have been unearthed, and they have been found in the Arabic.
Right.
So, of course, it exists. Now, if we talk about Mayong, Mayong village is in Assam, and the ancient name of Assam is Pragjotishpura. So, Pragjotishpura, the name Jyotish is there in the land itself, because Assam is known, and it's very culturally rich for its tantric rituals and the Tantra mantra, because it's the site of the goddess Kamakya.
Yes.
and it's one of the Shoti Peeths, if you know
Yes,
about the Shoti
just
Peeth.
like our Kali Mandir, Kali Ghat.
Yes,
So,
yes,
and maybe who knows? Even in the heart of the metropolis, we may have tantrics around who may be believing or practicing tantra. But Mayong, it has the word Maya in it as well, so that's very
yes.
connected to your name, Maya.
Yeah, it comes from the Sanskrit word Maya, which means illusions, and
Yes.
which is again points towards magic.
Mhm.
And there's another connection to it because they say that the people of Mayong, they descended from the Moirang clan. The Moirang clan, which hails from Manipur, and from there it came to be known as the Mayong village.
Okay. So it's a village. What would
Yes,
be
it is a
so? It's a geographical area which is kind of defined.
Yes,
Is
absolutely. It
mm,
exists even today.
mm.
And the reference of this village goes back to the Mahabharata days
Oh, really?
because, yes, because it was said that
Mm,
Bhim's son Ghatotkacha
mm.
was the king of Mayong, and he came from the Mayong clan. And
Okay.
he, yes, he had joined the Battle of Kurukshetra,
Yes.
and he
Made a
had
lot of
he
difference.
Yes, yes, it made a lot of difference, and he was very efficiently armed with all the magical powers of the Mayong clan.
Just stop
So,
here. It's not that we are saying the Mahabharata, the epic, is it really happened. It may have come out of somebody's imagination, but somebody wrote
absolutely,
it centuries back, and or it may have been added to later on. But the idea that the reference of the village was there even then, right, Maya?
yes, it is absolutely. It is
That's
there,
fantastic.
and even yes, and it has been carried on for ages because again in the 1330s, if we see, there was a force of Muhammad Shah from Delhi, and he had his 1 lakh horsemen, and
Okay.
they were there to invade the area of present day Assam, Pragjotishpura. And then all of a sudden, it is said, I don't know whether there is any bit of truth in it or it's just a figment of somebody's imagination or a myth, absolutely. But it is said that 1 lakh horsemen, they just vanished into thin air in the jungles of Mayong. They never could reach Mayong.
The skeptic in me would like to step in and say that possibly they were butchered because Assam is a very difficult terrain and it's also very difficult to reach. And if
Yes,
perhaps for the invader, it was easier to hide behind magic and say that he had lost because his horsemen disappeared.
absolutely. Absolutely correct. And again, as I say, that there are two sides of the same
Always,
coin.
always. It could have
Yeah.
happened that my own people, they stepped in to help the king with their magic.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. And if there's a very established documentary.
Mhm.
This I would request you and also our viewers and listeners that if they get the time and the opportunity, they should all watch it once. It's called Mayong Myth versus Reality. It's
Okay.
a wonderful documentary which is directed by Utpal Borpujari, and he did an extensive research on the village of Mayong and how the cultural heritage of the place is slowly, getting obscure
Okay.
because the documentary brilliantly starts by questioning the youth just outside a theater that is showcasing the feature film on Harry Potter, and they're all aware of Harry Potter, but even though they hail from Assam, they are not aware of the existence of this village called Mayong. Very few people, in fact, know about this place called Mayong.
So I
But
will ask you to talk about what happens in Maya. What is special about? Does the train disappear when it reaches there, just like in Harry Potter? There is no
uh,
platform.
no, no, no. The train doesn't disappear when it reaches there. You can absolutely travel to Mayong. In fact, I heard about it for the first time from my brother-in-law, and he has traveled to various parts of India, and he was the first one who told me about Mayong. And he told me that nowadays many Westerners and young researchers and young students, they visit Mayong to know about the deep dark secrets of the place and how it all happens there, what magic lies hidden behind Mayong. And he said that people, they tie up their hair very tight so that not a strand is visible, and they literally cover it with a bandana or something of that sort.
The
And they
visitors,
wear,
the
yes, the
visitors do
visitor,
that. Okay.
yes, yes, and they wear full sleeved clothes, so that no body hair just falls, or somebody can use that, because we know that in black magic, I mean, magic has its white and its black and its gray, of course.
Of course.
And but black magic essentially is used to harm people. It's used to create a very dark and horrifying thing for people uh, who have hatred in their heart. To They use it
So
for
basically,
others.
yes. So basically, it
Yes,
is for the advantage of you and disadvantage of the victim.
absolutely. But the fact is that it's like a boomerang. It comes back always, but
Yes, that
people
we
don't
have heard.
realize it.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So, and in black magic, they usually use body parts and very prized possessions of the victims. And if they get hold of that, that may create a lot of distress. So
I'm,
that is
remind,
why maybe they
I'm
cover
reminded of
everything.
a very, you know, popular novel written by an Indian writer, possibly, in which one of the protagonists actually clipped the nails and cut off the beard of her neighbor to kind of hand it over to help her own child, possibly. So, you know, we all know that maybe that's why we are told to cut our nails. In Hinduism, there are days when you should not cut your nails or not, you know, cut your hair on certain days. So, and be very careful with what you do with your hair. And maybe that's the reason that when a child's hair is cut for the first time, it is to be deposited at the altar of a god or goddess. So nothing is
Absolutely,
without a reason, actually.
actually, absolutely. There is a scientific reason behind everything. There is some logic hidden behind all the rituals and the regimes, as we say. So this is from where my interest in Mayong got generated,
Okay.
and I did a lot of research on Mayong, how the village had its own share of magic and dark days and distress, and how some people, like there is a particular school teacher.
Mm.
Okay, he teaches in the Mayong Higher Secondary School. His name is Lokendra Hazarika. He is
Okay.
trying his best to preserve the magical texts of Mayong, because according to the villagers and according to the elderly people in the village, they say that most of the magical scripts, the tantra, mantras, and the chants, all of them, because of the fear of getting ill used, the fear of misuse, ignorance, and also the inability to kind of cope with very strict ritualistic regimes, most of them were either thrown in the waters of the sacred Brahmaputra river, or when the magicians died, they were burnt along with them in the funeral pyres.
Oh,
So most
so
of the texts actually are lost now. So
so
whatever
actually,
remains,
so that's very dangerous. It can be actually very dangerous because if you do half a magic and you don't know how to undo it, then that can be worse. Like what
yes.
happened to Abhimanyu? He didn't know. He got trapped because he didn't know how to get out of the situation.
True. So exactly because of that, maybe because they, of course, with the generation progressing and they are diversifying into various other fields of work and profession
And they
and
must be
lifestyle
questioning
also.
as well. They must be questioning.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is the reason why the decline in the cultural heritage of magic and magical powers. But as you said, it has been a very potent site for the tantrics. Even today, the Kamakya temple is one of the very potent. It's called the Bhumistan for the tantric meditation. Like people from all over the world, they go and seek tantric salvation in the Assam Bhumi, as they call it. Like,
Yes,
for example, Birbhum is also known as a very potent Bhumi stand for tantric practices.
absolutely correct.
So that is one thing. And
Is it a
this,
profession for the villagers then, Maya?
no, nowadays it has become a very sadly, it has become a very, you know, kind of a mere profession for the villagers. They kind of make a little money by showing small magic tricks, like the regular magicians. They would do that. But earlier, it used to be extremely significant. The magicians used to be called as Bej. So they
Okay.
were very famous people like the Shura Bej, and then there was Lokhi Bej, and another person was there called Petula Bej. So once I heard about this, I came across this particular incident in the documentary itself. That there was a man-eater tigress
Mhm.
who was creating a havoc in the village called Tetiliguri. Tetiliguri village is just in the banks, along the banks of the Brahmaputra, and this particular tigress was creating a menace over there. And the Shura Bej, the very popular Shura Bej, he did not eat for 3 days and 3 nights. He did not drink a single drop of water, and he chanted a protective mantra for his own protection and his family members' protection. And he created a magic, he chanted a magic mantra which is called the Baghbadha mantra. It's
Okay.
called the Baghbadha mantra.
Mm.
And they did not kill the tigress, they captured the tigress.
So it could
They
have come in
captured,
use in our Sundarbans because so many families lose their,
yes,
earning members
yes,
because of the attack of the
absolutely.
tigers or the tigresses. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
So, but along with this particular person's death, that mantra is also gone, because there
Oh,
are several ritualistic details which have to be performed. And maybe the families, they don't want to get into the, all the trouble of
no, but it is very
making those
difficult.
rituals.
And one
It's
has to
very
be
difficult,
and
very
one has
difficult.
to be very spiritually advanced, and you cannot make a mistake, and one has to lead a very life full of discipline and austerity to be able to reach that kind of a level, because it's ultimately, like we saw in Vika, it is connecting with nature. It is possibly communicating. He possibly communicated with the tigress and tamed her in a
Yes.
way.
Yes, yes. And there's a scare even that what if the mantras fall into the wrong hands?
Yes,
You
correct.
know, so
Just
that
like the
might
nuclear
be,
heads, because they have a
yes,
lot of potent, right?
yes. yes, absolutely. Even I have no established truth in it, but apparently the Nazis did a lot of research on the occult as well.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
because they did a lot of research on the occult, and they read extensively. There were people employed, there were officers, there were scholars who were employed to read the ancient texts, to decipher them, and to take the best out of it.
So
So I'm not very,
do whatever it takes to win a battle. Everything is fair in love and war.
yes, yes, yes. And again, from their side, what they were doing was the right thing to be done.
For them, yes,
So
it's all a matter of
for them,
perception.
yes, again, the complexities and the confusion between two persons is facing each other, and the right hand and the left hand theory. Again,
Absolutely.
it comes to
Yes, it
the
does.
forefront.
It does.
So Mayong nowadays, the younger people of Mayong, they have all gone to other places. They are studying, and they are probably taking up other professions. But there are two school teachers, Dipen Chandra Nath and Ramesh Chandra Nath. They have written down books on the magical cultural history of Mayong, and there, as much as they could write all that they have seen in their childhood, witnessed in their childhood. I was telling you about the Uran mantra, like
Right.
where 3 hours of distance can be covered in 1 hour. We don't know how, but now we know. The fact that we are connecting virtually, that again is absolutely demolishing the concept of time and space.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that again is, it's for the ancient people, it's nothing less than magic.
True. True.
So I think that is there. So, like I was saying, that there are several mantras which have been used, and nowadays there is a sharp decline in the severity of the mantras. It's not that the magic doesn't exist at all. The magic still exists, and the current residents of the village, the inhabitants of the village, they have learned from their elders. But those are the very simple day-to-day tricks, which
So, like
nowadays,
performers, magic
yes,
perform.
they are performers now, very rightly termed. They are performers now, because nowadays, with the travel blogs and the YouTube videos, a lot many people get to know about this village. And when I had heard about it, about the severity of the place, I told you earlier that they used to tie their heads, and they used to cover their body very strictly and carefully. But nowadays, it's no more like that. Young people go, I mean, people of any age for that matter, they go, they visit the place, and they do these vlogs and everything. Like, I have seen several of them. And the performers in the village, they do tricks which are the
Very
daily
basic.
tricks.
Yeah.
Very basic, very basic. But earlier it was not like that. Earlier there were these mantras called the Malsharam mantra, which was probably used to cause severe harm to the victim. It could also kill the victim.
Oh,
So again, these were the reasons why the manuscripts of these magical scripts, these mantras, they were either destroyed or they were thrown in the waters of the
but who
Brahmaputra.
took the decision to do that?
The people, the family members who still existed, but they thought they did not have that spiritual calling, to be able
Okay.
to perform those magical tricks, and they
So,
found it very difficult.
so it must be a difficult decision as well. But maybe should I call it a very pragmatic decision, because they didn't want it to fall into the wrong hands, and they knew
Absolutely,
perhaps that they were not capable of using them.
absolutely true, absolutely correct. But this Shankara Kala Kshetra, these people, there are several other associations who have come together and they are trying, like Lokendra Hazarika. Shri Lokendra Hazarika is also trying to, get hold of the whatever is left and
Right.
preserve it, because
Mm.
it's important to medicate those scripts and to digitalize those scripts. Otherwise, again, they would be lost, because they used to be written on pat pata.
Right.
Okay, so the pat pata that was used was called the Sachi pat pata,
Mm.
and the script that was used was called the Kaithali script. Again,
Okay.
it's a mix. It's a mix of the Assamese script and in their local language they called Ohumia. So Ohumia, and it has influences of both Buddhist and Hinduism as well.
Right.
So Buddhism and Hinduism, it's a mix of both. So
So
about
Pali.
50
Mm.
yes, the Pali script. I mean, it's a mixture of both, I guess. So about 50 scripts could be preserved, and those are kept under very strong guard, because, of course, for the obvious reasons.
Right.
Now, how I got to know about Mayong, I tell you.
Mm.
But how I got into the research of Mayong is a very personal story. But I have no qualms sharing it with you, though I would prefer not to take certain names.
Okay. Fair
Um,
enough.
when my maternal grandfather passed away, he was a very learned man, and he had interests in almost everything under the sun. He often his reference reminds me of Shibu Jetha, of
Okay.
the Feluda series. So he knew everything,
Mm.
and during those days, presidency was known as the Hindu College,
Mhm.
and he had done his MPhil from there, and he was very much interested in literature and language forms. And he was survived by his two brothers, and the younger one, especially my Chodda, I used to call him Chodda, was very attached to my grandfather. And after he passed away, it was a severe blow to him, and he lost focus absolutely. Uh, he was in his 50s then, and I used to go with my grandfather to the park every day. There's this local park, my grandfather used to take me there for 1 hour every day in the evening. Um, and while coming back, he used to used to feed me one ice cream. It was those quality walls cup ice creams. I remember it very clearly. So after his demise, Chodda took the onus of doing the same thing with me. He used to take me there. And he used to always look for my grandfather all around. All of a sudden, I don't know how, because I was very young at that point of time. I don't know under what influence or under what association. A particular Shadhu Baba came into the house in my mama bai. And Chodda used to tell people that he is my Dada. He has
Okay.
come back to me. And he is guiding me in all the possible positive ways. Uh, my Chodida wasn't very happy about it, but during those times, the way they are inculcated and brought up, and how they adjust to the
The
family,
women. The
whatever
women. The women folk.
women,
Mm.
yes, the husband, whatever the husband decides, it has to be the right thing. So she couldn't voice her protest, and only my mama could say that whatever is happening is not the right thing, because this man was surely into tantra, and he was doing certain things which was influencing the family members, and was trying was probably controlling all their actions and their movements also. So later, I will not get into the details of it. Very severe things happened,
I'm so
which
sorry to know that. Yes.
which led to the death of Chota ultimately,
Oh,
uh, in just about a time span of 1.5 years. This man created havoc,
so he
and
stayed in the household.
he stayed and he went away without saying anything, and he would say that I'm going to practice sadhana, and then he would come back again, and his lifestyle used to be absolutely not very sage like,
Okay.
as we
Not very
say.
sadhu like. Okay.
Very sadhu like, yes, but very regular. But he would just disappear, and then he would come back maybe after 3 months, or sometimes within a matter of few weeks. And this game played on till, say, 1.5 years, and which resulted in a very fatal thing. And after that, of course, uh, the other relatives also had to interfere, and uh, they thought that, maybe they could hand him over to the police, because there were certain things which were there were certain heirlooms missing, and there were certain things, certain practices which he was trying to follow and do with the family members. It turned out to be very severe. Ultimately, my mama took a call, and he was, of course, driven out of the house. But later, my mama did a lot of research on this man. He went to the police station and he tried to find out several things, and many queries and investigation. I mean, not legal investigation, but on a personal level,
Mhm.
that led us to know that he was a tantric from the land of Mayong. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all people are like that, or all practitioners are like that, because
So he
I
had
strongly
walked
believe,
the evil path. He had
yes,
tried to use the
he
magic in a
chose
different
the
way. Yes.
yes, he chose the evil path. He chose the evil path, and just like white is the perfect balance for black,
True.
so I am absolutely sure that good also exists,
Mm.
otherwise bad wouldn't ever have been there. One exists because of the other. So this man was related to Mayong. So after this incident, when I grew up, when I got to know that he was like that, and he was from my grandmother, who told me everything, only then I started looking up that what is it, and then I found that yes, Mayong has been a site for ancient tantra. There some yoni kunds, some ashtabhuji chakras. All these symbolisms are the symbolisms for the goddess who is ever fertile, you know,
Yes.
and those can be used in the positive way for femininity to be productive. I personally believe it is not restricted to the process of procreation. Femininity to be productive, it has to be a production of ideas, of perceptions and concepts.
Absolutely.
And
So
yes, so
the feminine power or the female goddess is ever potent and very very powerful. We've always learned.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So it has been unearthed from there, and there were positive people, there were evil people. Ultimately, the choice remains with us, what we
So
choose.
do you think he tried to harm your maternal uncle's family from
Yes,
outside
he,
the house?
yes,
Did
I
he
felt
continue?
so. I felt so, because even after he left, there were several issues coming up with the marriage of my aunt, with the constant ill health of my grandmother, and professional problems that were faced by my maternal uncle. But later, when people harp on hope, and positivity, and they strive to live, and that living force is there, that will to live is there, and to will,
Yes.
and the will to get rid of evil is there, nothing can absolutely harm.
So life
So
force
I
takes
think
over.
yes, absolutely. So that is what it continued for a few months, but after that, gradually, with God's grace and with the sunlight upon them, everything is fine.
But Maya, would you want to ever visit that village yourself?
I sometimes feel the urge to, because uh, the beyond boundaries and beyond explanation, things beyond explanation has always had my interest in place. But then again, at times I feel very scared, because I don't know what lies behind the door. And when you ask a child not to open the door, be very careful of the door, the child will absolutely go and open the door. The first thing that the child will do, just to see what's there behind it. And what if there is something which is not very positive? And I don't want to invite trouble unnecessarily. So
True.
maybe no.
So I would just like to tell my listeners and viewers that there is good, but it is balanced. No, I wouldn't say balanced. Evil exists, but it will always be overpowered by good. So if there is trouble, we can push it away with the strength of our minds. And this has been a discussion on the village of Mayong. And someday we would like to invite the gentlemen and the teachers who are working so very hard to preserve a culture, because how that knowledge has been used is important. Knowledge is power, and power can be used fruitfully, and power, as we all know, can be misused. We've seen enough politicians around us do that. I mean, I don't want to be short for this, but that is true. Power can be very, very corrupting. So, and power can also be very giving. So let's hope
Yes.
that we have we more power to those who are blessed and those who can do good for the society. Thank you, Maya. Thank you so much. I think OS Incorporated remains indebted to your insights and your experiences.
It's
And
absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much.
thank you, viewers and listeners. I hope you will take an interest in this very, very intriguing village. But let us not disturb the inhabitants, because they must have called peace for themselves. So keep listening to us and also view the documentary that Maya has mentioned earlier. So this was the end of the 21st episode. If you have liked us, please put your like in the channel, and don't forget to share and subscribe if you already haven't. Stay connected.